Most people think the reason they can't lose body fat is because they're eating too much. The real problem is they're spending the entire day eating foods that barely even fill them up. Then by 8 p.m, they're tired, stressed, hungry, and standing in the kitchen looking for something sweet. This is where most people get fat loss completely wrong. They think they need more discipline, restriction, and willpower, but if your food choices are making you hungry every single day, trying to lose body fat is like trying to build a business with no systems. You might hold it together for a few days, but eventually chaos is going to take over. So in this video, I'm going to give you 10 foods that are extremely low in calories, but high in fullness, so fat loss feels completely different. Not because they magically burn fat or because they hack your metabolism, but because they solve the problems that cause most people to fall off. Hunger, snacking, convenience food, and worst of all, nighttime cravings. And once you learn how to use these foods properly, fat loss stops feeling like a chore and it starts feeling like a system. I'm Jack Hart, the founder of Jack Hart Fitness. We've helped over 1,000 busy men and women to lose fat, but also to rebuild their energy and finally feel back in control without extreme dieting or living in the gym. So let's get straight into food number 1. But don't just think of these as foods. I want you to think of them as tools, because the right food at the right time can be the difference in between staying in control and ending the night eating snacks that you didn't even want in the first place. Food number 1 is what I like to call the sweet craving kill switch. Most people are going to hear this and think that it's some children's party food or something you get in hospital. But here's what most people do not realize. They rarely fall off because they were starving at 10 a.m. They fall off because they wanted something sweet at night and they had nothing prepared that actually felt like a dessert without causing serious calorie damage. And that is why sugar-free jelly is so useful. It gives you volume, sweetness, and the feeling of having something sweet after dinner, but for very few calories. And this matters because fat loss isn't just physical, it's psychological. And if every evening feels like a punishment, of course, eventually you're gonna rebel against your own plans. Most people don't need a stricter diet. They need better options that actually make consistency way easier. You can have sugar-free jelly with Greek yogurt and berries, and suddenly you have something that feels like a dessert, but actually keeps you in control. Think of it like a safety barrier beside a road. Obviously, you still need to drive, but when the cravings hit, it stops you veering off into a full-blown binge. The action step here is very simple. Keep some sugar-free jelly in the fridge for the time that you normally crave something sweet. Obviously, for most people, that's after dinner, when the structure disappears and the brain starts looking for comfort. And that leads us into food number 2, because sweet cravings are one problem, but the next problem is that they don't feel satisfying. Food number 2 is the hunger speed bump. These are one of the easiest low-calorie ways to make a meal feel even bigger, but also crunchier and more satisfying, because fullness isn't just about calories. It's about texture, crunch, saltiness, and also volume as well. If all of your meals are soft and bland, of course, your brain is going to be looking for that stimulation. That's exactly why you eat a clean meal and you still feel like something's missing. And that's why pickles fill that gap. Now, you might not be a fan of pickles, but if you are, you should start including them way more in your fat loss phase. They add a crunch and flavor for barely any calories. Add them to burgers, wraps, sandwiches, or if you really love them, you can just have a few of them on the side with your meals. The only thing you want to watch here though is the sodium. If you do struggle with high blood pressure or water retention, then you can obviously choose a lower sodium option instead. So what you want to do now moving forwards is just add pickles to the meals that you find boring. Especially lunch can be a great option, because if lunch doesn't satisfy you, then that's really where the snacks come in. And sometimes the issue isn't even flavor. Sometimes your plate just looks completely depressing. Food number 3 is what I like to call the full plate lever. And this one is gonna sound pretty basic, but it gives you so much volume of food for a tiny amount of calories. Most people think that eating less calories means seeing less volume of food on their plate, but that is not how you're gonna win long term. If your plate looks tiny, then your brain's just gonna feel like you're being robbed. And when your brain starts feeling like it's being robbed all day, it starts negotiating. You tell yourself, you've been good today, you deserve something, or one little snack won't hurt. But then that one snack turns into a full week of binging. And that's why cucumber makes your meals physically bigger. It takes up space. It adds that crunch that we were talking about, and it makes your plate look complete. And that matters because your stomach has stretch receptors, which are going to signal fullness to your brain. In very simple terms, your body doesn't just ask, how many calories did I eat? It also asks, how much food has arrived into my body. And that's why high volume foods are so powerful. You can use the cucumber in salads, beside meals, or instead of crackers with some tuna, some chicken. Or maybe make some cucumber boats if you're feeling fancy, with tuna, Greek yogurt, chili, some seasoning, and then all of a sudden you've got a really filling snack that feels like a real food instead of a punishment. Now, food number 4 has a slightly different job. Celery gets dismissed very often because it feels like a bit of an old school diet hack. Obviously, if you're eating dry celery sticks whilst pretending to be happy, then that's not going to be a real lifestyle. That's what I call a hostage situation. But if you can use this properly, then celery is going to give you that crunch, but also volume and something to physically eat when you feel like you want a snack. This really matters for a lot of busy people because often snacking isn't just because of hunger. It's because of stress. It's because of boredom. Just that time you're transitioning in between tasks. It can be finishing work, just opening up the fridge and feeling like you need a snack, probably just because your brain is absolutely fried from the day. Celery can interrupt that pattern. But please, whatever you do, guys, do not try and eat it plain. Pair it with a small controlled amount of hummus, maybe some low-fat cream cheese, or a Greek yogurt dip, or low-fat cottage cheese, or even a bit of peanut butter. The celery isn't obviously the whole snack. It's the vehicle. Basically see it as a low-calorie spoon that fills you up, but also adds that crunch and volume that we were talking about earlier. These types of changes to your habits really matter because a handful of crisps or biscuits or nuts can really add up with your calories across the day and completely wipe out that deficit that you've been working on. Not because you failed, but because those foods are so incredibly easy to overeat. Celery slows you down, it increases some friction, gives you something to chew, and sometimes that bit of friction is exactly what you need. So here's what you can start implementing right from now. Use celery as a controlled snack. Probably for you, it might be specifically for when you normally tend to graze. For a lot of people, this is mid-afternoon. That's really where the low energy starts making decisions for you. But snacks are really only the first layer. To make fat loss easier, you also need to change the structure of your meals. So food number 5 is what I like to call the pasta illusion. Zucchini or courgette, wherever you're from, this is so underrated, because it doesn't just add volume. It can partially replace higher calorie alternatives. Most people think that fat loss is about removing foods. No pasta, no burgers, no enjoyable meals. But the real skill is learning how to build meals that feel similar whilst costing you fewer calories. That's the difference between restriction and structure. Zucchini can become noodles, it can become lasagna sheets, or it can also just bulk out your stir fries. You can build it into mince, into curries, but also into sauces and other things like omelets as well. Because it's mostly water, it can really bulk out your meals, but with hardly any calories. This is very important for busy people who don't want tiny portions or separate diet meals when their family is eating other foods. Obviously, you can eat pasta still within your diet, guys, but this is a great addition to your plan to bulk out your meals even more. Instead of a huge bowl of pasta, you can do half pasta and half zucchini noodles. You keep the exact same meal, but you just dilute the calories massively. If you want the more aggressive version, then food number 6 is actually the one that people forget about the most. Food number 6 is Konjac noodles. To be honest, they're probably one of the strangest foods on this list, but also one of the most helpful. They are extremely low in calories and they can make a meal feel massive. They're made from konjac. The fiber in these absorbs water and expands, helping slow digestion right down and keep you fuller for longer. Think of it like adding sponge to a meal. Not literally, but it holds water and it takes up space. It really slows things down. You can use them in stir fries, in soups, in a load of Asian dishes, or even bolognese. But make sure you follow these 2 rules. First of all, make sure you rinse them properly, because they can smell a little bit strange when you first open the packet. And second, make sure you start slowly with the portion of these and build up, because the high fiber content can upset some people's digestion. These foods are tools. They're not magic. If you enjoy them and they work for your stomach, then brilliant. But if you hate the texture or they make you feel bloated, then obviously don't force them. Fat loss should be structured, not miserable. Food number 7 can change the entire structure of a meal, and it's lettuce. Most people see lettuce as something that you put beside a meal to make it look healthy, but lettuce is really a high volume eating tool. It gives you the crunch, it gives you freshness, and it really gives you structure. Because the leaves are strong, you can use them as alternatives to wraps. Burgers, for mince, for chicken, or tuna, prawns, steak. But the really important thing to understand here is that wraps and burger buns are not bad. Of course, you still want to eat them within your journey. But as I said earlier, this is the way that you can eat even more, but whilst being less hungry. Just a great tool where you can save some calories without sacrificing. Food number 8 is for people that keep saying that they've got a sweet tooth, and it's watermelon, because watermelon is mostly water, but it still tastes super sweet. And most people don't only want food. They want that feeling, something refreshing, they want something sweet, something really that just feels like a treat. And if you don't plan for that, you're just gonna be relying on willpower. Keep it in the fridge, you can freeze it into chunks, or you can also add some salt and lime to it. The important thing here is just keep some ready, so it's just ready to eat. Not a whole one in the fridge when you look at it and you're not gonna be bothered to cut it up. Because when cravings hit, convenience wins. So make the better option convenient. Food number 9 is similar, but even more useful for a lot of people. It's what I call the frozen sweet tooth fix, and it's berries. Strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, or even blackberries. Now, berries are slightly higher in calories than cucumber or lettuce, but still so low compared with a lot of sweet snacks. They really give you that sweetness, the fiber, the water, but also the texture as well, especially when they're frozen. The fiber slows down the digestion and makes it even more satisfying. But practically, their biggest benefit is just giving your brain another option when your brain is asking for sugar. Most people don't fail because they ate berries. They fail because nothing was planned, and then they reach for the sweets, the biscuits, the chocolate. And as I've already said, you can eat these things, but within moderation. For 80% of the time, you want to be eating foods from this list so that you can stay more full and keep those cravings away. You can eat 500 calories of biscuits in minutes and still feel really hungry. A big bowl of berries with Greek yogurt fills you up for hours. Food number 10, probably the most underrated on the list, and that is a broth-based soup. Now, this could be chicken broth, it could be a vegetable soup, or even a miso soup. Most people don't associate soup with fat loss, but here's really what makes it useful. A low-calorie soup before a meal can really help you eat less without feeling restricted, because it really slows you down and takes up space before the main meal arrives. Because most overeating happens at speed. You come home hungry, you plate up the food, and you eat super quickly. Your brain doesn't catch up until you've already eaten too much. So this is why your soup is gonna act like a bit of a brake pedal. It puts something warm in your stomach and gives your brain the time to receive that fullness signal. Most people aren't failing because they don't know that chicken and vegetables are healthy. They're failing because their plan doesn't work when life gets busy. That's why the goal isn't to suffer harder, it's to build a better system. These foods help you eat more volume and feel back in control, because fat loss shouldn't feel like you're constantly fighting yourself. And if you found this video helpful, then make sure you watch the one that's popped up on the screen right now, because that's gonna help you implement the right system for you, your body, and your lifestyle, so that you can finally be consistent and see the results that you're looking for. Because the goal isn't just to lose weight, it's to become someone who doesn't need to keep restarting. But that's all from me, guys. I'll see you in the next one.